So where did you just got back in South Africa, obviously, home for a week, but where were you before that? Stationed?
Spent a lot of time in Dubai, but recently now coming from Seychelles.
Okay, nice. So you've seen the world. You've seen so many incredible places. So you obviously, Brandon Andrews, we went to school together. Straight after school, was it the first year out you went on these yachts?
Yeah, first year out, decided to skip the varsity and do a gap year, per se.
So initially it was just going to be a gap year?
Initially, yeah. And that was the story to my parents to try and convince them as well. But just fell in love with it, I guess.
Because obviously starting out, you were doing all the jobs, the real hard hand labor, being a skivvy type of guy, making your way up. So you obviously had to do really difficult things as opposed to where you are now, which we'll get into. But what was so awesome about it, even though you were doing the bottom level labor?
Look, it's a bit cliche, but obviously the best thing is traveling and seeing the world, meeting new people, cultures. But yeah, I mean, you do get to go almost anywhere for free, really, and see the world as a job.
Mm.
Still getting into the hard work, working all the time, but the upsides to it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, anything you do in life, career-wise, it's going to be a lot of work that you might not enjoy. But the benefits of, so let's say you're an accountant, you might not enjoy certain aspects of your work. Maybe your job satisfaction is helping your business, whereas your job satisfaction is helping people and experiencing that incredible time yourself and seeing different parts of the world. So there's difficult aspects of it, but on the other side of it is incredible upside in terms of what you'll see for that bit of work that you were doing.
Yeah, obviously you've got to remember you're there for the primary reason, basically hospitality. What we're doing is hotel service on a private setting on a yacht, away from everything else. But when there are no guests and you have time off, then you get to enjoy it yourself.
How did you start, like going into that first year, that gap year? Was it you just went online, Googled, I want to be on a yacht?
So through Storm, we both know from school and his brother, that's where I got the idea from. And again, obviously not knowing what I wanted to study, he said his brother did it and he wanted to. And just from there, I think we were 16 at the time in grade 10.
Oh, so was that early already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as he'd mentioned to me, because I think Sheldon went over he was in matric, which we were grade 10.
Yeah, we would have been like 2012-ish.
Yeah. So that was when I heard it and loved the idea and cracked it to my parents, and they kind of went along with it.
How was that conversation with them after it's been a year? Was it after a year you're like, okay, well, guys, I want to carry on? Or was it, 2 months in, you said to them, actually, you know what, I think I'm going to stick this out for longer than a year?
No, not as early as 2 months, I think, because it took quite a while to get my foot into the door. I think it took me 3 months of day work in Fort Lauderdale, America, to actually land my first job.
So what is day work? What do you want to explain that?
Basically, you're living in a crew house, or you can get your own private accommodation and you're working day to day. You can go online or through an agency once you've built up maybe a little bit of work at the time. You'll start knowing more people and they'll say to you, okay, we've got work between this and this day. Would you like to come and work for us?
What kind of work was it?
Day work is generally just helping them out. They would either have finished a trip or be going into one, and you're just getting the boat ready.
So these day work is almost just a way to get connections to be able to get onto a boat.
In a sense, you're working for money. You're getting a feel of the industry. You're washing the boat. You're scrubbing the teak. detailing things, making them all shiny. For instance, the paint and the stainless steel, you want to be pristine all the time for the owners. On the other side, if they've just finished a long, hard season and going into a shipyard period, they'll be packing everything away. So you don't just stuff everything into a bag and throw it into the corner. You're pretty meticulous about it, packing it up neatly, making sure it goes away clean, so that when you pull it out for the season, it's almost ready to go, and it's, you know where things are, and it's kind of just take it out and you know it's ready. Maybe a few fine-tuning things here and there.
So you did your day work and then you got onto a boat. What was, your primary roles once you first started? And you're obviously in America, Fort Lauderdale there.
So it was through day work actually that I did get the job. It started out as 3 days, and funny story was I actually almost gave it to a friend because I had work at the time, and I was clever enough to ask if it could be a permanent role, and the second officer at the time said yes.
So almost the day work, like you say,
You're always
the
trying to
day work
perform.
could then turn into full-time.
Most certainly, yeah. Not all the time. The boat will probably be pretty upfront with you. They'll tell you, look, it could be a possibility or it couldn't. I don't think it should change your mindset on how hard you work. You always want to work hard because you're going to be referenced to the next boat. And you find out very quickly how small the industry actually is. And if you're not a hard worker, word gets around, and the reciprocal, if you are, the word will get around and people will be happy to hire you, or you're a nice person and that.
So now you get this job. What type of work are you doing? Because I don't even know like what your role starting out, a deckhand, like what exactly does a deckhand do? Just so maybe people can understand, when you're starting out, these are the certain responsibilities you may have.
You get the three main departments, obviously. You get engineering and the interior as well. And then what I did was into the deck side of things. So yeah, being a deckhand first of all. And you're basically doing the day work things on a permanent basis now. You're maintaining the boat, you cleaning, you scrubbing, making sure that it's always in a good condition for the guests. When I first joined, we left Fort Lauderdale straight away and did the Atlantic crossing. So we left from Fort Lauderdale and then through to Gibraltar, which is just the start of Europe. You go between Europe and Africa to enter the Med there. And then you stop off in Gibraltar, you fuel, and then we carried on to France. And basically on that little trip over there, we were just every day rinsing down, because as you're going, obviously the salt spraying all over the boat, and you rinse that off every day, make sure that it's not caking on there, because with the sun it really bakes on there. And after 2 weeks of the trip across, it's going to be a nightmare to try and get off if you don't maintain it.
So your initial trip, did you, when you're signing up, had where you were going or where this boat usually goes played a role in making the decision? Or is it, no, well, here's a permanent job, I want to take this?
Yes. First of all, the permanent job thing, you do. I think it's almost a luxury to, you're not always going to be able to pick and choose. You want to get the best itinerary or the best crew type thing. You don't want to first join a boat that's going to be stuck in the States or stuck in the Med or something like that. You want something that's traveling, because it's this whole new world to you. You're going into it to travel. But I think to get your foot in that door and to get the first opportunity and take the permanent job was for me the first thing. I got lucky with it being a world traveling one, which is nice.
How long, did it take you to progress? What kind? Do you have to do a lot of studying to go from a deckhand to maybe something that requires like a certificate, and then obviously make your way up, experience?
Yeah, so I've been in the industry now for 9 years. I think coming up to 10, or I might have just passed the 9. When did we matriculated? 2014, so 2015 we started. So yeah, just past the 9 years. And I stayed for 3 years on that first boat and progressed from deckhand to lead deckhand, and then from there to bosun. So, which is a pretty good or an ordinary progression rate. From starting out, the first course you have to do to work on a boat is your STCW, which is just a 2-week course. Here in South Africa, you can do it in Durban and Cape Town, and then you're eligible to join and work on a boat. What I did was a full month course, which included some extra deckhand things to help me out with that, which you don't really need. I wouldn't suggest to anyone to specifically do it. If you want to, it's not going to hinder you. It will help you a little bit.
Did you find it helping you like progress anymore? Impress people maybe even a little bit because you had more, knowledge?
Progress, no, but yes, a little bit of knowledge of a few things here and there around the boat that someone that hadn't done it might need. But you can learn that stuff quick enough when you join. Yeah. And everyone's willing to teach you. Everyone wants to help each other because,
you're all there together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can do a few courses here and there. Some guys do their RYA course, the jet skis. Popped out of my head now. I'll think about it. But you don't necessarily need it. I don't have my jet ski course. Some people do their divers. I don't have that either. Obviously, some boats look for that because they've got a big diving itinerary, or jet skis are a must because their guests are always on jet skis, things like that. So,
but for you, it's maybe more the progression of, making your way within the boat itself, as opposed to looking after the guests. So yes, looking after the guests is important, but it's more, I want to make my way to captain. Being able to have a jet ski certificate isn't really going to help me get this way.
No.
Isn't that?
So the next big progression after getting your basic STCW would be your 200-ton license, your yacht master, which is at the time very grueling, and it's not a course to take lightly. You need some sea time for it as well, or some sea miles. So you do have to work towards it. That big crossing off the bat kind of helped me a lot with that. And then some coastal cruising around the Med. And then, yeah, it's a 2-week course again, 1 week theory and another week practical. And then in that practical, they'll assess you, and an outside examiner will come in and do a little oral with you and see basically how you can handle the boat, which at the time was really scary. But looking back at it now, a lot of people, I think, take it really lightly, which it shouldn't be, because at the end of the day, you're able to captain a 200-ton boat, which, if you think about it, is quite a big thing.
Yeah. Well, how many crew plus passengers would be able to fit at like maximum capacity on a 200-ton boat?
Probably 3 to 4 crew, and up to 8 guests, I would say. Yeah. Depends how it's run. They might run with less guests or less crew. It's up to the accommodation as well. If there's enough accommodation for 5 crew and the boats run pretty hard, then it could be up to 5 crew.
For South African, obviously we'll work in rands. What's roughly, maybe like, if you know the going rate to charter in rands a boat of that size?
again, it will be different on the year it's built, the who it's built by, where it's built in the world, the quality of everything. But
Let's say the one that you were steering, the one that you did your test on.
that one was quite a bit smaller than a 200-ton boat. It had one cabin up forward in it. But to charter that, I would probably say $10,000 maybe for a week.
Okay. So almost like 200,000 Rand for a week,
Yeah,
which isn't cheap, and it's a small boat.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So it shows the money. I mean, what's the biggest boats that you've been working on? What kind of sizes have those been?
I've worked on 70-meter boats and 50-meter boats primarily between those two sizes, and you realize how different the step is from those sizes, and how much more money it requires, and how much more money the owner has compared to the other one.
I'm sure it must open a whole new world, coming from South Africa, coming from like a third world country, and then meeting all these people that can afford to charter these boats, meeting maybe the owners of the boats. Like, it must be opening your eyes to a completely different world, irrespective of maybe the countries that you go to, but just the level of wealth that these people have.
It's crazy. I mean, you can't almost comprehend how much money it really is for some people. They can almost do what they want, really, without batting an eyelid. But they are still very conscious of what they're doing at the end of the day as well. They will be tight in certain areas and not in some others. But
I guess to get to that level of wealth, unless maybe you inherited it, you do need to be smart with your money. Even though you maybe have billions or hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever, you do need to, especially when it's maybe like $1 million for one holiday. Like, that's a lot of money, even if you've got $1 billion, to just be willy-nilly about.
Yeah. I mean, it goes to say the biggest charter yacht in the world, Flying Fox, charters for I think it's $4 million a week, which is crazy.
So would that ever be a goal of yours, to like try to get onto that, or?
Probably not, just because of the license direction that I'm going at the moment. I'll be doing my 3,000-ton license, and then for that you'll need an unlimited. You'll need the same sort of license as the captains that drive cruise ships and container ships and things like that, which is probably not my goal at the end of the day. I don't mind sticking to the smaller, still very big yachts.
Small in comparison to a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 9 years, that's a long time. I remember the last time we met. I can't remember if you had a girlfriend at the time or you spoke about an ex or whatever, but I'm sure it's difficult to, obviously, unless you're fortunate enough to have someone your crew on that particular boat that you get along with and you could be in a relationship with, but then that also adds a different dynamic. So, I mean, how's your love life been in like that 9-year period?
I wouldn't say too many girlfriends, but it is hard because you almost get settled in a place. And then you're leaving, so you can't really tie yourself down anywhere, or if you try to, it's difficult to then leave and try and come back and whatnot. Some guys, obviously, or girls, do a lot better than with that because they're just enjoying their life as well. They're happy to move around and like a classic sailor, have a girlfriend or boyfriend in every port. It suits some people a lot better than others.
Does it suit you?
I wouldn't say so. No. But yeah, living and working with a partner as well is very tough because there's a bunch of politics. Someone rubs you up the wrong way and you go back to your cabin in the evening. If you are working with your partner and you tell them all about it, it's quite difficult. You have to separate your life with them to everything that you're working and living around as well, because you can't now go and hold a grudge against this person because they shouted at your girlfriend for doing something. It's part of the job.
Yeah. What are some of the, because obviously you've traveled to many places in the world. What are some of like your favorite places that you've been where you think like, okay, I could actually have roots here if I'm no longer on a boat? You know, I'd actually like to maybe have a family here or even just live here.
I think my favorite place that I've thought about maybe going is probably Croatia. Just the people, the culture, the food. It's beautiful.
Last time I saw you, you showed me photos in Croatia. Eh?
Yes,
it
probably.
was that. It was that. Yeah. You stayed at a hotel, and then there was like a photo from the hotel room, and then you could see. I don't know. I'm sure it was Croatia.
It could have been. I mean, there's probably a lot of times that I've stayed in different hotel rooms.
The one that you went with the girl that you were seeing at the time.
Was it by the ocean?
I can't remember. I don't. When last did I see? Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It's 3.
3 years ago. The girlfriend at the time of 3 years ago. You guys went to you stayed at. Somewhere.
We were in Turkey. I think
I think it was Turkey actually.
I think we just broken up at that point, but that was up in the mountains in Turkey in Gorim. It's that famous hot air balloon place.
Okay.
And we stayed in a cave hotel there, which was really
cool. Yes, it was that you showed me.
And it was a bit unfortunate of a holiday though, because we'd paid for the hot air balloon ride and it was too windy to go up. So we had to try and hustle a little bit and get another flight for the next morning on the black market or whatever, kind of over a counter.
Did it work out? You still went?
We got the tickets, but the next day was too windy.
Again.
And then the next morning we were leaving and we saw the hot air balloons flying. So it was a bit of an annoying one, but a really cool experience to stay in the cave hotel there.
Several people from our year at school went and did this. I don't know where the other people are in the world really, but have you been the one to stick it out the longest?
No. Storm, who came over with me.
Is he still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing well as well. I think he's in France at the moment. He's and Sheldon as well, his brother, where the whole journey began. He's back in the industry. He left for a little bit to come back and study. He did do a gap year. So he did it for a year, came back, studied and went straight back over. So he's still in it. And he was actually in Cape Town not so long ago. He delivered a boat from Cape Town to Turkey.
Okay, that's cool that you come back to the country it all started in.
Yeah. I mean, the super yacht industry, I think, is opening up a little bit to Cape Town. There's a lot more influx coming in, I think, maybe with the whole Russian war as well. They've kind of come down here to avoid Europe or anywhere that their boats might be sanctioned.
You've obviously interacted with a lot of international people, and when they hear you from South Africa, like what's their association with South Africa? Like what is their maybe preconceived ideas or notions towards, here?
It depends, I guess, where you are. Spending a lot of time in Turkey, the first reaction was always, "Oh, you're not black."
Yeah.
But in Europe and places like that, where they know us South Africans from other things as well, it's not a big thing. It's you're not really acknowledged too much.
But they definitely see South Africa being a lot more poorer than what it actually is. At least maybe in the Americas.
Yes. Yeah, probably. And it's one thing that always comes up as well is the crime. Often, most of the time, you're getting into taxis and cabs with people that are also foreign immigrants working from other countries as well. So you can relate to a lot of the other non-locals there as well, because they're doing the same thing as well, trying to make a living outside of their country.
You've seen a lot of countries. Is the grass greener on the other side, in your opinion?
For me, yes. Obviously, this can all change, but I don't see myself coming back to South Africa and settling down. I would like to be overseas. Not because South Africa is a terrible place, but I've just seen the other side of the world now. It is easy being in Europe. You can travel and go anywhere quite easily. Here, we're kind of separated from the rest of the world. I mean, I'm 6 hours away from home now, and it's the closest I've ever been to home, which is still pretty far.
Yeah.
And in places like that, you
Is
can...
that 6 hours by boat or by plane?
No, by plane.
Yeah.
Straight flight.
What is that? What would that be? Like, would you have to stop somewhere else? Would you even have enough fuel to be able to get from like the port where you are to maybe Cape Town, Durban?
Yep, we would be able to make it. It's probably a week trip, maybe just over a week. Like I said to you before, we've done an Atlantic crossing, which depending on your speed might take you 10 days, 2 weeks.
So what's the longest you've been at sea?
At sea, going from A to B, probably 17 days. But I've spent longer than that at anchor, things like that, not touching the shore.
Do you go through any of like those kind of tests where they're like, we can't have you on our crew if after 3 days on the water you start panicking and want to get off? Like, do they go through any of that?
For me personally, no. I don't know if I've heard of anything really like that.
Because like a sense of like claustrophobia or something where you feel trapped because you're in the open water.
For sure, but I think you would know.
Probably
at
would
that
be
point,
getting it in that line of work.
The biggest thing is people getting seasick, and a lot of people don't know. I think I went into it not knowing if I got seasick or not, or I actually did. I got seasick a couple of times fishing before joining the industry, and now I'm like, oh goodness, I'm going over there and I'm joining a boat, and I know I get seasick, but it hasn't affected me once, which is...
But are all the boats that you've worked on big enough, obviously, with stabilizers and everything, even the smaller ones?
Yeah, everything that I've worked on has had stabilizers and things like that, but you feel it.
It's fascinating because, I mean, I went on a cruise once. It's like MSC long ago. And we went from Durban to Mozambique. And obviously it was only a weekend trip, so I didn't feel the water or anything, but I get motion sickness, or I used to, at least when I was younger. And I took all these tablets. Maybe the tablets just helped and I never got sick. But I remember being on the boat. This is a very big boat, so it doesn't really feel like you're on a boat. But I think when you're out there for 12 days, maybe like after day 2, you might get that sensation. Do you think you would? Or do you think if you haven't felt it initially, you probably won't feel it for the rest?
No, depending on the conditions again.
Yeah, I guess.
It could start out pretty calm. For instance, our latest trip, the first few days were really calm, and there were a few new crew on that hadn't been out to sea before. So they were a little bit worried, and they're like, oh, it's not too bad, it's fine, I'm not getting seasick. And then the 3 to 4 meter waves started hitting us, and we pounding into it, and they got really sick. And it's like, that's what you have to deal with. I think on the cruise ships, you're not dealing with that because of the sheer size and weight of the boat.
And also where you're going. Obviously, like we're kind of just pretty close to the coast. So it's not like we're going deep out to the ocean.
No, look, you can get some pretty rough weather coastal as well. Obviously, depending if the winds push and the waves are pushing on shore at the same time, then it can build up. Even in the Med, which is quite a small body of water, it gets pretty rough.
Have you had any crazy experiences where you were just like, this is actually meant, like what you see in the movies with these fishing boats that have like these massive waves?
Look, I think if you're on a small fishing boat, yeah, it can get hairy pretty quickly. We've probably been in some stuff that you wouldn't want to be in on a little fishing boat, but I kind of find it fun as well to be out in rough weather. For some people, it might be a little bit too rough and they get a bit scared. You have things. I mean, we're stowing the boat. We're making sure, preparing to make sure that those kind of things don't happen, because we don't want things breaking. And when it gets really bad, the last thing you want to deal with is things flying around, because obviously it's going to injure someone or you're not able to do it. But the worst I've been in is probably a 4 to 5 meter swell, which wasn't too bad, to the point that I was scared. But you do hear stories of waves crashing over the bow, the front of the boat. But mainly we're looking at weather windows. We're not wanting to travel in weather like that. I think container ship industry, where they have to be on a timeline and they to strict schedule, they kind of try and push through it to a certain extent.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you also with people who are paying a ton of money to have an awesome time. So if you see that the weather is going to be terrible, obviously they're not going to be like, nah, let's use my 200,000 Rand and let's just go anyway. Like you're going to make more informed decisions.
For sure. And as the captain, it's your job to tell the guests, look, it's not worth it. I've had a captain before say, I'm not going to put my crew through that. And you put the foot down. You are responsible for the boat and the crew and the guests at the end of the day. You are responsible for everything. You might come across some pretty hard-headed guests that are like, no, we're going. And some people buckle under that and they say, okay, and then they go and the boat gets banged up and the crew are sick and the guests are sick and it ends up being a nightmare. Well, you'll come across guests as well that actually really respect it and they'll say, okay, look, what's the other options? And I think at that point, what you have to do is have the options. You don't want to be caught in the headlights and say, oh, I haven't thought of that. I've just told you we can't do this.
What would the options be? Like an alternative route, a different place to go, or like how would they work?
Yeah, of course. Different anchorages or wait a day. You could see where they're coming in and say, look, if you really want to be here, we need to go today. We're not going to make it if we go tomorrow. You're constantly monitoring things like that.
So has that interest you a lot in terms of having to study to progress? So you need to understand weather, you need to understand, like what for you is the most interesting? Is it having to study certain types of, tides? Has it been the weather? Like what's interested you the most in your studying? Is it the boat?
You're constantly learning, and I find that you're learning from other crew as well at the same time, the people above you, almost more so than you are in a classroom. Obviously, you're learning in the classroom as well, but
experience definitely.
It's that in the moment how to react to things. Because you can go through something in the classroom so many different ways, but being in a situation is completely different. And I would say I prefer learning in person rather than sitting in a classroom and trying to take things in. Obviously, that's the reason why I didn't go to university in the first place, is because I found school a little bit taxing. I didn't see myself sitting in classrooms trying to get a degree, but I ended up doing it anyways. But I'm happy with it because it's something that I really enjoy.
And now with your parents, obviously in South Africa, when you come back, you're able to see them. But has there ever been opportunities for them where they were able to like come on the boats you've been working on, at least maybe for like a day? Or how has that kind of worked with like privileges maybe you've been able to afford them or allow them to be?
Look, you can, depending again on the boats. Everything is different. We're on the boat that I'm on at the moment. We're happy with family and friends coming on. We'll show them around. Obviously, we'll keep certain areas private, But yeah, if they are in the same place and we have time to do it, most boats are more than accommodating to it. But they haven't had the opportunity to see anything
But
that I've
they've
worked
come
on.
and visited you.
Yeah. I think one of the highlights I've had with my parents as well was last year's Rugby World Cup. I was able to fly them over to France, and
Nice.
we stayed in Paris and watched that Ireland South Africa game,
Yeah.
which was a little bit disappointing in the end. But a really cool experience, I think, for myself and my parents.
And being able to afford to fly your parents out, pay for things. And I think it's nice, being able to, I don't know exactly how obviously things would work financially, but you'd be able to, obviously you get paid your salary while you're on the boat. Your accommodation is essentially paid for, even if it's coming slightly out of your salary or your salary is reduced or whatever. So you can save a lot. You're earning, good money. You can save a lot, but then obviously when you're ported, you have to use your own money. It's not like they give you allowance or crew allowance. Like, do they do that kind of stuff, depending on where you are?
What the situation is, so basically, we've got a chef on board, and they're cooking lunch and dinner for us every day. We've got things like cereals and whatever for breakfast. Every Friday as well, we get a cooked breakfast, some bacon and eggs, whatnot. So we get, like you said, everything for free. We get toiletries for free. If you are smart with it, you can save your whole salary or very close to the whole thing, which means you're going to be pretty tight though, because you are doing things like not going out, spending money ashore, having fun with everyone else, which some people do because they are saving money to send home every month or whatever. They've got a bigger picture, whatever, down payment on a house. And then you get people that are doing that as well with a little bit more financial freedom though. So they're able to come out, and they come out every now and again and whatnot.
What's your approach? Live life and save almost.
Yes. I think from the beginning, I've caught myself in a tight spot a few times when I've been in between jobs for a few months, and I was running low and whatever, but I never really had the idea that I wasn't going to spend money and have a good time, because that's the whole reason I got into it. So I would always go out with friends and have a good time and spend the money and have the experience, because who knows, you might lose that.
Yeah, absolutely.
At any point.
Life is so short. I also went through a stage where it was, try save, try accumulate, try get as much as you can. And then I was just thinking, what? So that you can be old and have stuff and then not really have done anything with it or not really have experienced life. So it is a fine balance between, okay, I'm earning money. I have maybe a safety fund, maybe 6 months of expenses that if I do have a really bad time, whatever, I can still look after that. Put money towards obviously retirement, because most likely you are going to live to retirement, but still spend money and enjoy life now, because you can go tomorrow and it can all be over for something that you were planning with for so long in the future.
Yeah, no, of course. And that's the exact same approach that I have as well. And obviously the more progression you make in the industry, you are going to get a salary increase with your position. And it helps a lot, obviously, because you can then start saving a little bit more.
Are there massive jumps in like salary as you progress? Like if we compare it to like teaching, whereas teaching, you earn relatively well for your first job as first jobs go, then you kind of increase slightly as you get higher up the ranks. Whereas like with a lawyer or an accountant, you can start moderatively and then, when you're head of a firm, it can be exponential. So like, how can that go for you in terms of like a deckhand, X amount? When you go up, maybe it's 1.5 more. And then when you get to captain, it's actually like 50 times more as a deckhand. Like, how does it kind of work?
So I'll give you a base kind of salary for the industry, and when you're starting out as a deckhand or stewardess, a junior, you're gonna get between $3,000 and $3,500. which on some boat you might. I think I started out with 2,700 as a
Okay.
base salary, my first salary.
Which is like 40,000 rand, which is more than double what a starting out teacher would earn.
Yeah, and then you get some people. I had a guy that I was staying with in the crew house on his first boat as a deckhand. He was earning $4,000
Okay.
as his starting out salary. But then from there, you can, as you go, a lead deckhand, you might get $500 more, maybe $1,000 more. A bosun earns between 4,000, 5,500 maybe. And then into the officers between 5,000 and 8,000, 9,000, depending on the size of the boat and experience. And then anywhere, the captain can earn anything from 8,000 to I think 30,000 as well.
Okay.
Again, depending on their experience, the size of the boat.
If you look at like that massive Disney cruise ship that they have, do you think that captain is earning more than maybe the captain of Bill Gates' yacht? I don't know. Obviously not Bill Gates, because you'll probably pay them really, really well. But like, you know what I mean by like a captain of a cruise liner compared to maybe like a smaller boat with maybe like that accommodates 30.
I think the captains of the well-known cruise liner companies will be earning a lot of money, and they're on a good rotation as well. They'll be doing a few weeks on, a few weeks off type of thing. A lot of captains in the industry are on rotation as well. Maybe not as many as would like to be, but that's generally between a month or 2 months rotation. So 1 month on, 1 month off, or 2 months on, 2 months off.
What's your rotation like?
Mine's 3-1. So I'll work for 3 months and 1 month off.
Is this your month off currently, obviously?
Yeah. So I'm on holiday.
Obviously, you're going home on Sunday. What's left of your month? Is it you going back straight in, or?
I'm flying to Dubai for 2 weeks, and I'll spend 2 weeks there before heading back to the boat. Yeah. So I kind of try and come home and see my family and friends as much as I can, but I still do want to travel as well. I've spent a lot of time doing courses as well on my time off, which you have to do obviously if you want progression.
Okay, yeah.
And some boats will allow you that time off. Otherwise, you have to do it in your holiday. Or some boats will have an agreement with you that's in your contract that they'll reimburse you for courses. Or some boats even pay for it straight away. Some boats don't pay for it at all.
Yeah. What guests have you had that you would be allowed to obviously share that like people would know, like well-known guests? Because I don't know how private these kind of things are.
So one of the boats I was on before this one actually was quite a high-profile charter yacht called Seven Sins. And I don't know if you were watching the Monaco Grand Prix a couple of weekends ago, but they were big in the media there. They had a Bugatti on the back and some guy that had chartered it, and they really went all out. And on there, we had a famous tennis star because his the person that funds his tennis camp basically chartered the boat.
Okay.
Without giving away too much information.
Yeah.
And we had him on, but I've not personally had anyone too famous on any of the boats that I've worked on. Just mainly very wealthy people.
Yeah. Rich people.
Which can be a benefit at the end of the day, because you find that the celebrities or those type of people they are a bit stuck up, and they always want things. They want, and they're used to getting things for free all the time.
Yeah, I think it's better to be really wealthy and unknown, I believe. Like, I would rather have all the money in the world and no one knows I have all the money in the world, as opposed to having all the money in the world because everyone knows of me.
And you realize as well that that's not the case as well. As famous as you are, you're not you're not in any comparison anywhere near some of these people.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they really are just normal people. And it took me a little bit to figure that out. Like I was like a little bit hesitant with them, like, oh, they don't really want to see me or whatnot, which in some cases is the fact. But a lot of them,
poor person can look at you and not want to see you. Like it's not about the money that makes them different. Their personality, they might have that personality, rich or poor.
Yeah. Fair enough. But
because you can be stuck up and still have no money.
True.
So I think it all just depends. Obviously, there's more possibility of being stuck up the more money you have. That's fair.
Right. And I think a lot of people perceive it like that, which it's not. A lot of them end up engaging in a normal conversation with you and actually want you to, even though you're serving them. It's just their normal thing to do, and they want to feel like they're at home. It's not this thing that they're the high and mighty or whatever. They're just on holiday and they're enjoying their time.
Yeah, I think if I had to equate it to like if I go on holiday, even if I'm not chartering a yacht, but I'm going and the waitress is serving me, I'm still going to be nice to her, even though maybe I might earn a million times more than her, whatever. Like I'm still going to be nice to her. So
of course,
someone's going to be nice to you who's chartering a boat. I think with money, it's if you're a terrible person without money, then you get lots of money, you're probably still going to be a terrible person. But if you're a nice person and then you suddenly make a lot of money, you're still probably going to be a nice person. It could change some people, but not everyone. But you're still a person at the end of the day. And all people are people and want to be seen as a person, irrespective of how much money you have. You still want to know that, okay, that person feels comfortable with me. Even though they are helping get my jet skis ready, I still want to know that they actually want to be here with me.
It's the appreciation as well. I noticed you can tell with them as well how much some people actually appreciate it compared to others, which makes you want to work a little bit more and take that level of experience for them even higher when you can see that they actually like, wow, they're putting in their effort. Thank you so much.
And also, those character traits probably help them progress and make more money because
for sure,
how you treat the, gardener versus how you treat the CEO should be no different. And having those good people skills helps you progress in every aspect of life.
Yeah. No,
so
100%.
You've traveled a lot by sea. Did you ever, I don't know, because it's not really similar at all actually, but like a pilot. Was there, because if you think about it, maybe it's the two opposites, captain on the sea, pilot. Did you ever consider like that route? Because that also involves a lot of traveling.
No, I've never considered it. Or I never did consider it. But I've recently thought like it would be cool to have a pilot's license just for a small plane, or a helicopter or something like that. Just it is a really cool thing to have, and you find now a lot of big boats do actually have their own helicopters.
And if you got a license, that would be also another feather in your cap to help you maybe get onto that boat.
Yeah, I think it's just something cool to have, I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever progress to anything, but I have certainly thought of it. I don't think I would do a career change if there was the fact that they needed a helicopter pilot. You can't be the captain and the helicopter pilot at the same time.
You've obviously been on the ocean for many, many, many hours. Have there been any crazy megalodon type animals that you've seen, like a massive whale or like anything like that? Because you're obviously on the water so often. Obviously,
no,
maybe not a megalodon.
nothing crazy like that.
But I assume you've seen a lot of whales, maybe dolphins.
You do. I think the coolest whale thing, maybe experience that I've had was, I think we were in Croatia and we were anchored in one of the bays there. I can't remember exactly where. And we had a couple of whales just swimming around the boat, popping up, going back down. Nothing super crazy. In the Bahamas, you you can see the nurse sharks and things like that. A good experience is the Pig Beach in the Caribbean, or was it the Bahamas? I can't remember. Which is a little bit strange because it's just an island with a bunch of pigs. I think they were taken there at one point, and they just carried on thriving. They weren't there originally, and someone took them there.
It's crazy pigs.
One funny story that I did have on the Atlantic crossing trip was we were all sitting down in the crew mess, which is where all the crew have dinner and lunch and whatever and chill. And we got a call on the radio that there was a killer whale outside. So everyone's like, wow, what? Came running up the stairs, got outside, and everyone's like, well, where is it? And there was a beach, a blow-up toy, a killer whale just floating.
I had one of those in my pool.
So that was something quite funny that I always remember. And it was out in the middle of the ocean.
That's crazy. So obviously you've been there now 9 years. What do you have, like a plan, how you want to progress? Is it kind of, okay, let me get this and then maybe make next rank, then we'll see? Or do you have like a 5-year, 10-year plan that like you'd ideally like to, go towards?
I never really had a plan per se. And I've always decided to progress in that next step. I've always looked at it like, maybe not, but then you actually get there and you're like, I will do it. So at the moment, I've got my chief mate ticket and working towards my captain's license, and that's for 3,000 tons. And then from there, that's probably it for me. I don't know if I'd progress anything further than that.
Would you then maybe set up roots somewhere after that? Would you obviously sail maybe as a captain for a while and then?
Yeah, I think once that's in the bag, it would be silly to just drop everything that I've worked for at that point. But you never know. Some crazy opportunity could come up that's really good. But for now, it's working towards that.
If you find a girl at one of these places you stop and you're just like, this lady is incredible, and she says, no, we're staying here, do you think any woman will be able to do that for you? Where you'd be like, okay, well, I won't go on these boats anymore, I'll stay here with you. Do you believe that you could find someone like that? Because I don't know if I could.
I think there's a bigger picture. There's got to be. It can't just be someone that's telling.
It can't just be love at first sight, where you see this lady and be like, no, this is the one. I would need to be more than that.
Of course, because I think. I mean, in this day and age, you can see someone and be in love with their looks. Not just
day, you want to get out of there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, it would definitely need to be a bigger picture.
Okay, let's say you're there. Somehow you're there for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you spend the entire 4 weeks with her, and you're like, nah, this chick, I need her. I need to have her for the rest of my life. Do you think there's a woman like that, or do you think it'll just be, nah, there'll be another one? Like, how do you view it? Because for me, it's like there's a bazillion fish in the sea. No pun intended. I'm gonna go find the other one.
Yeah, I don't think.
Because you've also traveled so much, you've seen a million women.
Yeah, I don't think that'd tie me down. Like you said again, 4 weeks is 4 weeks. 4 weeks is nothing in the bigger picture. I'd probably just go and see her more. I'd try and make an effort to see where it goes, and that's kind of what you do have to navigate, I think, with relationships in the industry, is you do have to know that you are meeting new people all the time, and if you are falling in love with someone that you have met, that if they're a yachty as well, they're meeting new people all the time as well. If they're based somewhere, maybe a little bit less so, but you have to take that into consideration.
So where are the most beautiful people? Where have you been that you're like, okay, this particular style of skin, nose, eyes, like this color hair, like this area is usually like the same type of woman. I like that.
Generally, I'm drawn to blonde hair, blue eyes.
Okay.
So Scandinavian, Eastern
Yeah.
European.
But then they're usually tall. Do you mind the height? Like if they're your height?
Yeah, if they don't mind.
Okay, but you don't mind?
No.
Okay.
No, not a problem for me. What about you?
Yeah,
No one. I mean, you're pretty tall, so
yeah, I'm not.
taller than
Yeah, I mean, I was dating a girl who in heels was taller than me. So I've been with a girl that was taller than me.
you. That happens a little bit more often than not.
Yeah, if like the girl's relatively tall, like let's say she's your height, then she wears heels, she's gonna be taller than me. So, I mean, I don't really mind. But for me, I don't know. I'm going through a Japanese phase where. Have you watched Shogun? It's on Disney Plus. It's on Disney. It's a TV show. Japanese. And there's one lady in there is absolutely beautiful. But you don't get that many Japanese women in South Africa. Maybe in Cape Town, but more of, different variety of women. But I would say in terms of like your cliche girl that I would go for is probably going to be a brunette, dark skin, relatively shorter, maybe like 5'3" brown hair, darker skin.
Definitely got it dialed in there.
Yeah, I know exactly. I know my type. You know, I do like blonde girls, but whenever I've really like dated, it's like a blonde girl might catch my eye quicker, but the girls that I look at and then like I'll be like, okay, no, I actually want to try to get to know that girl because there's a difference,
right?
There's that difference of you see a girl, you're like, okay, well she's hot. Versus you see this girl like, no, I have to go talk to that girl. Like, I don't know. With blonde girls, it's maybe like, oh, she's hot. Give her a second look and then she's out of my mind. Whereas some brunettes, when they just got that certain feel about them. So it's definitely brunettes for me.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that I've really got a specific type. It's like you say, it's that first look. I think that's what catches my eye, like you say, the most is probably blonde hair, blue eyes. But I mean, after that, it's really just getting to know the person for me.
Yeah, and I think people who say like you shouldn't lead with attraction. You have to lead with attraction. Of course you do. Of course, like I think it's naive to say that you can't lead with attraction because if you don't find someone unattractive at first, understand people can become more attractive maybe the more you get to know them. But if you don't find her attractive at first, what's the point? It's like, no, she's not attractive, but let me maybe get to know her personality. I'll then force myself to kiss her every now and then. Maybe she'll get more pretty. Like, no, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you're going to find yourself wasting more time than doing any good, I think, like that.
Bro, I want to get this done before the power goes off because if this crashes, we're going to lose the audio. And we've done 55 minutes, so that's perfect.
Cool.
Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.